What up? Mind of OPEX. If you're not familiar, this is not a trucking channel. I'm just a truck driver that uses this time wisely. So, yeah, I'm not a truck driver YouTube channel. This isn't for you guys. Even though for some reason you guys love my truck driving shit. For example, my last video got 5 to 10 times more views, 5 times more likes than the video before it, which was a lot more in-depth and took a lot more intelligence and experience to come up with. But no, you guys like the mindless shit, the trucking shit, which my biggest video just hit, or is about to hit, 1 million minutes watched, which is a big deal for my channel. 1 million minutes watched on my most hated video. That I get a lot of hate and a lot of flack for, but hey, for some reason you guys like it. So I want to dive into the video today, and you got to understand that the majority of the shit that I talk about is very controversial. It goes against the norm. It's not the standard way of thinking, you know, in the Matrix where we're all programmed. In fact, it's the complete opposite. It takes unique subjective thought that has nothing to do with books or movies or what you heard on television or what your political party suggests, you know, and brainwashes you. That's not me. Total subjective. So let's talk about what I want to talk about in this video. So I made a video called Punishments. It's gotten the least amount of views on my whole channel, and it's a very important video. I made it about 2 years ago or so. I don't remember when. And the problem is, it got like 10 views or something at the time, and I was like, this is the most important video on my channel at the time. The most important. And no one watched it. So we're gonna have to redo that video. But I'm gonna do it in a different light. See, this one's gonna be more specific. It's gonna be about violence and low IQ. So, let's start it off with, if I am an adult, and I'm making an argument with someone, and we're arguing, let's say, I keep using the flat earth theory because it's so easy to talk about, but I'm pro-ball and you're pro-disc, right? So we try to have a reasonable discussion, right? Try. So this is your facts and stuff, and, you know, I might be asking questions, and, okay, so how does your flat earth thing work? Okay, can we stop there? Because we got to address this. And then you start getting mad. And I'm like, no, please, this isn't that kind of conversation. This is a conversation, not a vicious argument. Because who's got the biggest balls or whatever, right? Who's the tougher guy? But what ends up happening is, if your understanding of something is so low, but you're consumed with it, and your belief structure wraps around it, and all of the walls of your paradigm could be disrupted and proved to be a delusion, you're going to fight to protect that no matter what. It's like an alcoholic who doesn't want to admit they're an alcoholic, or what they did when they were blackout drunk. You know, I know a lot of blackout drunks, and they don't make the best decisions. And the alcoholics tend to fight and double down and say, they aren't doing the thing that's wrong. It's you. You should have, you know? So they always want to point the finger elsewhere, right? Because they can't handle the intellectual conversation or to admit fault. So, going back to the flat earth thing, I'm pro-ball, you're pro-disc, right? And I say something that totally disrupts your whole disc fantasy, right? And when I say that, and I try to apply logic and reasoning, and you don't want your delusion to go down, and you don't want to be shown as an idiot, so you're going to double down and think of any way to put that into perspective for me, in which that I have to kneel before you, right? That's pretty much what, like, a flat earther would want, is you to kneel before them without reason and evidence, and just be like, oh, you're repeating information you heard from another YouTuber. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize, you know? But the point is, you don't want to be Something's wrong with my throat right now. I don't get it. I did just eat. But you don't want to be exposed. So what you're going to do is double down and make sure that you're not exposed and you're going to fight unfair. Right? So what happens when you're fighting unfair? Well, you're going to say things like name calling, which I get tons of that from the YouTube trolls. Instead of applying logic or evidence or reasoning behind whatever claim that you're trying to make, you tend to say words like, you're a fucking asshole, you're an idiot, things like that, right? Which isn't an argument, right? The whole Stefan Molyneux thing, it's not an argument, right? So you're not making any case. What you're doing is you're not intelligent enough to keep up. So what you do is you name call, because you don't want your delusions destroyed, and you don't want to surrender to reason and evidence, or rather, my logic, right? So what you do is you name call, and you tell people that they are assholes or they're not thinking clearly, instead of actually talking about what it is that we're talking about. So you're a disc guy, and instead of telling me how the disc thing works, you stop doing that and say, you're an idiot, you're closed-minded, you're just repeating rhetoric. That's not an argument, right? If you say things like that, then you're not actually applying to the conversation and no one's growing from it. Rather, that you are doubling down on your belief and you don't want to hear any real evidence or logic or reasoning. And what you do is you attack the other person. Now, that's a verbal attack, right? It can escalate. Right? Especially if two could play at that game, you fucking retard, you're a flat-tard. You know, and then I started, right? And I start name-calling back and snoop to that fucking low IQ level. See, all it is that's going on here is that no one's intelligent enough to argue the points. Rather, now it becomes a name-calling thing, and whoever has the bigger balls. Which is more of a beta play, or rather, a low IQ play. It's like, you have nothing to offer. You have nothing to offer. You shouldn't be in the conversation. In fact, you're not equipped with the knowledge or the understanding of the topic to engage. You shouldn't be in this conversation. You're not smart enough. You haven't done research. You haven't seen empirical or even anecdotes on the fucking topic. All you're doing is repeating certain rhetoric, and, you know, if that fails, what happens? You have to double down because you don't want your delusions destroyed. This is low IQ. See, the wise don't fall into that category. They don't want to fight fire with fire. Okay, you're snooping to that level, you piece of shit. Yeah, you're fucking scumbag. Oh, go on your little disc. You know, if you're snooping down to that level, you're not wise. You're not intelligent. See, good arguments don't require force. In fact, I have that shirt, good ideas don't require force. As you've seen in at least one of my videos, I wore that shirt and I exposed it. Right? So if you have a good idea, you don't have to, it doesn't require force. You don't have to force your hand on it. It's a great idea, right? So the problem here is that the only thing that good ideas get is either accomplices to that good idea in agreement, or they fight the good idea, right? So they double down on their belief. They don't want to lose that the disc-shaped planet that they're on is disc-shaped, and there's an ice wall, and there's a spotlight, and yikes. Yikes. There's no evidence for any of this, right? Doesn't even make logical sense in many different aspects, right? But you double down on that belief, and you don't surrender to the new evidence or the new logic or the reason. So you escalate, and you stop the conversation as it is, and you start name calling. That name calling does not win arguments. However, it makes that person feel good because they avoided a situation. Now, if I call them out on them, like, hey, you're name calling, you know that's not an argument, right? You're going backwards on this conversation. Then they're like, yeah, you piece of shit, I'll fucking clock you one. So then it becomes violent. So it wasn't even just vulgar language and name calling. Now we're going up to a violent defense, right? Or offense, rather. Because your IQ isn't strong enough. You're not equipped for the conversation. So you're going to have to fight as tooth and nail in order to win and not have your walls taken down. So what happens here? And how did it escalate to this point? It's clear. You don't have an argument. You are low IQ, and you weren't supposed to be in the conversation anyways. You aren't equipped. You aren't relevant. You are making the conversation worse and a waste of everyone's time. All because you don't want your walls to be taken down. Now the wise will learn. The wise and the intelligent will take the other person's thoughts and be like, wow, I didn't consider that. Or I did consider that, and here's my rebuttal. Right? And then we grow together. That's what the wise, the intelligent does. See, low IQ, if they can't argue, they're going to apply force or try to weasel their way out of something. That's a weak mentality. That means you have a weak brain. You might not be getting enough oxygen to your brain, or you're doing too much alcohol or drugs or whatever. You're eating unhealthy and your brain isn't working properly, and you're just sitting, your brain's becoming mush in front of the TV repeating talking points. Well, my government, hail the government. And you're just going to repeat the talking points from your political party. Well, that's what you're going to get. Mindless thought consumerism. You're consuming thoughts and rhetoric, and you're repeating it. And if there's any flaw in there, you did not consider it because you took it as faith, as gospel. I like this person. I like even Ron Paul, right? I liked Ron Paul. I have yet to hear anything terrible or that I terribly disagree with Ron Paul. At least what he was doing was, everything that even he said during his campaign in, was it 2004, 2008? In his campaigns, I was like up in arms. I'm like, wow, he isn't, I'm waiting. I'm trying to think of something that he's doing or saying that I disagree with, and I couldn't figure anything out. But I actively tried. But other than Ron Paul, there's no consistency, right? There's no consistency. It's all lies, it's all deception. But then you repeat that. So if I go into, like, if your professor says socialism is great, it's equality, they use a bunch of buzzwords. Well, those buzzwords go into your system, goes into your brain. And when those buzzwords go in your brain, what happens? It becomes a spell in a chant. It becomes symbolism. So when you look at a symbol, this symbol would be language. So it would be like equality. Don't you want equality? And then they say things like, well, look at the CEO. The CEO makes 100,000 times more than their lowest wage employee. And when they say shit like that, it becomes talking points. It becomes rhetoric. But you don't really think about it. Why? Why don't you think about it? Because you have surrendered to the information instead of questioning it. And because you don't question it, then your walls will go up. So when somebody does question it, it's going to bother you. It's going to be like, how did I surrender to that information if it was false? So it can't be false. So you're going to make sure that you keep that delusion going. This can go with your political party, religion, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Whatever the information is. Milk, did you hear milk was bad for you? I read the study. And then you read another study, milk is good. Oh, they're biased. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Milk is bad for you. So if you just stay with one, and you just picked one because it aligned with your belief, and you won't even read the second one. Right? You won't even read the second one saying milk is good. Why? Because you've already surrendered to something. You've already changed your lifestyle to something. This is a low IQ, conformist, obey type mindset. This is how they enslave you through public education. Surrender to our information, our history. Surrender to this. There is no other history. And just, you need to learn this for the test. You don't want to fail school. You're going to be dumb. Do you want to be dumb? Well, you have to learn our shit, or else you're dumb. And colleges won't accept you, and, of course, they want you to, they plug in your brain that you need high grades if you want high money in life and be successful, which is a lie, obviously. Anyways, So, society, the matrix, the powers that be, the programming institutions and companies and corporations, they program you to be obedient slaves and to surrender to the information they want to give you and call everything else fake news. So here's the issue. You've been programmed to do this, but if you stop doing it, you can start thinking for yourself, and that is where the true intelligence lies. I believe you can alter your IQ. They are dumbing us down, as George Carlin once said. You know, they want you dumb enough, they want you smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, but too dumb to question what it is that you're doing. And I know that's not verbatim, but something along those lines. And it's really important to realize that. So what they are doing is they're making everyone lower and lower IQ, conformist, obey type society. They don't want you guys 70 IQ. They want you in that nice 85 to 95 range, which is just above crime, like criminal IQ, but just low enough to not question anything. Does that make sense? Now let's go to the second part of this. Now that we can kind of say that where violence comes from. Violence comes from low IQ, the inability to conversate and communicate at an effective level with somebody that is of higher intellect. It's very tough for them, and they can't handle it, so they go to name calling and just kind of just hyping things up to a point of high blood pressure, and they can't do anything because they can't think, and they just want to fucking blast you in the face. All right? It's low IQ. It's the inability to handle. Now, this is the part that I want to get to. And I didn't expect this to be so long, so this is the actual video that I want to talk about. So, you know where violence comes from. Now, look at it like this. Let me say this real quick. Might as well sneak this in there. And I heard this from Joe Rogan. And I don't usually repeat Joe Rogan stuff. I don't think he's the smartest guy I don't think he's the sharpest tool in the shed, but he tries and he surrenders to new evidence, which is all positive stuff, right? And he's not still out there telling people about Bigfoot. Anyways, so he said that when he used to train people in jiu-jitsu, or is it karate, or taekwondo, in some realm of martial arts, and when he would teach people things, like the newcomers, they'd be scared. And what Joe would say to them is saying that, hey, you're intelligent because you understand what can happen from this escalation. You understand, and you're taking into account of all of these variables. You can get your ass whooped, somebody can die, you know, like you can hit somebody, their head cracks open on the side of the curb. So, like, a million different things can come into your mind. That is a level of intelligence and variables, not just a straightforward, I'm going to kick your ass, which is very low IQ, right? So if you're not that person that wants to go out and engage and fight, that means that you are of higher intellect. And it's okay, because you can train those things and be able to fight better, right? And learn the fundamentals of martial arts, etc., right? But it's very important to realize when the dumb people don't take into the account that they can lose, ever. They take into account, I'm angry, and I can't think clearly, my brain's cloudy, and I'm just going to hit you. So, that person who's angry and wants to fight, how else is... I'm trying to remember the ancient saying. I think it was a Chinese thing. An ancient thing. It's something along these lines. That I'm not going to be able to remember it. Just understand that when you're angry, you're not going to be able to fight clearly and use the fundamentals and the things that you trained on and worked on for years, let's say. You're not going to be able to use that in combat if you're angry, or at least effectively. And if you are calm, you analyze, you can understand, okay, well, when he does this, I do this. and I can go in for the takedown or whatever. Right? A million different things can fall into play, but the ability to come up with that, fighters, just because you're a fighter in the UFC doesn't mean you're low IQ, right? It's the ability to not fold under pressure and be cloudy. Because if you're just cloudy, just fucking, everyone wants to see that. But I like the technical game. I like, boxing, for example. Boxing is like a swing and then the person ducks. Nice fucking uppercut to the body, and then a nice hook to overhand. Just like perfect timing, perfect execution, right timing. Everything's just perfect. That makes a good fighter, an intelligent fighter. But those are the people that also, if you go to interview them, and they say, hey, when was the last time you had a street fight? And then the first thing they always say, the intelligent ones, I try my damnedest not to get into a street fight. But it's other fighters, the less IQ fighters, that was like, oh, you want to fight? Right? They might have some skill because of all their training stuff, and they might even be a better fighter. But it's definitely low IQ that wants violence. Now, this is actually the part of the video I wanted to get to. I told you a million times I can keep talking for hours, and I'm trying to keep these videos shorter. So, I want to talk about parenting. Parenting as in, you as a parent, you have a child, your child does something you told them not to do. What do you do? It's quite apparent, no pun intended, it's quite apparent to know that violence occurs to a child from a parent, a grown person hitting their child because they did something that they told them not to do. So instead of reasoning with your child, you don't have the ability to reason, you just fucking freak. I told you not to use the crane against the fucking wall, right? So instead of saying, hey, I paid a lot of money for this wall, it's going to cost me a lot of money to fix it, maybe, I'll teach you that, maybe I should teach you to work, and, I'll give you some money for working, and reason, be like, okay, do you want to spend all this money right now because I stole something from you, or I did damage to, and then you reason with your child, right? It doesn't have to be in that type of aspect. It could be any way of reasoning with a child. See, you're an adult, you have experience, your brain ticks, you have a better skill with language. You are much more intelligent because you are more developed as a parent. If you can't reason with your child and you surrender to hitting him or her, that should tell you where you lie. You aren't as intelligent as your child. Your child's winning the argument. You don't talk back to me. Well, that's what you're doing. Remember when we were talking about, basically, we're having an argument and you can't hang, so then you go a step further? That means you're losing the argument once you're name calling, or if you're just saying no and you're not having an argument. Start doing that with your child. Hey, son or daughter, that's not an argument. I want you to clean your room. It's going to be great for the guests. It's going to show you a lot of discipline. What's your argument against it? I don't want to. That's not an argument. Until you give me a good enough argument that's going to beat mine, you're cleaning your room. I don't want to. Well, I don't want to have to put you there, but here you go. Here's your broom. That stuff goes into your drawers, and that goes over there. So you reason with your child. Obviously, when I'm the ways that I'm telling you to do it, like that's not a good enough argument. That's just an example. You don't have to go with my direct ways of handling it. You don't have to do my ways, but you can figure it out because you're an adult. You understand your child, or at least you should if you're a good parent. If you don't know your child and your child's getting bullied at school and you have no idea, that's a direct problem from you not knowing about your child. Child looks a little sad today. I'm not going to ask, hey, what's going on, buddy? Nothing. Man, well, if you don't want to talk about it and just start eating your broccoli or whatever, the dinner table. If that's you, you're not a good parent, right? If you're a good parent, you want to sit down and talk, have a good relationship with your child, right? And if you're talking, you're going to establish more of a bond. The way that you break that bond is by not listening to your child, not diving into the personal stuff, and hitting your child without reason or explanation. I told you not to do it. I told you. You'll know next time. Obey me. Yeah? You want your government to fucking be like, we don't want you to have your car. We're just going to take that from you. I told you. We just put a law out there that no Subarus, and you just have a Subaru. So here we go. Just take it from you. Is that fair? No. Now imagine that as in they got all these armed thugs, fucking cops. That's what they are. They're armed thugs. And you don't surrender to the cop. Right? And you talk back. Sir, do you know how fast you were going? Yeah, but it doesn't matter how fast I was going. Can you just fuck off? No, sir. Now I have backup because you're being rude and we got to get down to the bottom of it. Can you step out of the vehicle? No, I ain't stepping out of the vehicle. So then all these armed thugs come up, 3, 4, 5 squad cars deep, and they just take you out and like, boom, 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 and hit you. Do you want that? Or if you're trying to, let's just say you're reasoning with the cop, like, hey, I was speeding, who cares? You know, no one got hurt, there's no crime, there's no victim. Just, please, can you leave me alone? Can you let me go? There's no victim, there's no crime. You got better things to worry about, right? No, you don't? Well, why? Oh, I'm not going to have to tell you why. I'm worried about you right now. You're a problem right now. I'm back up. And then they get you out of the car and beat you up. You should have just fucking surrendered to me. That's what you're doing as a parent. I'm just trying to put it into context to show you what you are actually doing. Now, do you want to, every time you see that cop that beats you up, are you going to be like, are you going to want to engage with him? Because you know what the consequence is going to be. So what you do? You run away. You try to be distant from that cop. You don't want to be around that cop. That cop fucked me up, called up backup, and they fucked me up. Right? I don't want to be around that cop. Right? What happens when a parent hits the child repetitively? And so they hit the child. Obviously it's going to create distance between the child and the parent. No, we're closer together. No, you're delusional. Right? You're delusional if you think that you're getting closer to your child by hitting your child. You're delusional. Right? The child has two people, a mother and a father, to look up to for caring for them. Right? You know, putting food on the table, trusting them, being very polite and nice and peaceful with them. But when they're abusive to them, which spanking is exactly the same consequences happen from abuse, becomes distant. Now stay in your room. I don't want to see you for the rest of the day. Well, child doesn't want to see you either. They're going to be thinking over and over and over about that experience that that child just had, where the parent is 4, 5, 10 times the size of the child, can easily whoop the child. It's not a fair fight, and the child is surrendered to this pain and agony and experience, and this issue doesn't just, when the spanking stops, go away. They're traumatized. They're traumatized. They want to be distant from their abuser. Right? They're not just going to be like, well, you hit me. I was a bad person. I'm sorry. No, it's, you say sorry. It's the parent going over the top, picking on their fucking child. I'm doing it for your own good. I want you to raise you right. No, you're teaching them to bully. I'm the big person, you're the little person, you do as I say. That's bullying. That's not reasoning. That's not moral. That's not ethical. And you're being distant from your child from ever having effective communication. Right? So look at it like this. You can't reason with a child. So you hit your child because you want them to obey you. Why don't you increase your argument? Make your argument better. Where the child goes, whoa, my parents peaceful, talks to me at a very personal level. My parents love me, it's clear. I've seen the differences between peaceful parenting and being there with your child. That means every day a parent figure is there with the child. I mean, just think about it like this. Daycare, not being around the parents for a day, or even going to public schooling for like 6 to 8 hours at a time, has similar results to abandonment. And this is very clear to see when you put your kids in daycare. And if your mode, because you're not so close to your child, is to deal with your children by beating them instead of reasoning, your child's going to be distant from you. And they're going to realize and pick up on those traits. Well, this is what we do in the real world. We beat up the little kids until they surrender to me. So they're in daycare. Your boy's 5 years old, saw a 3-year-old girl and was like, you know what? I'm going to abuse this kid. Just like my parents abused me, because this is how life works. So they're going to be violent. And what does violence do? I want to use the right word here. I was going to say extinguishes, but it doesn't. Well, it repels your ability to reason and to have higher intellect. Your intelligence is based on your ability to think for yourself and the ability to surrender to new reason, new evidence. See, if you don't have that ability, you're going to be stuck in a world of delusion the rest of your life. My parents taught me, the priest taught me, the president on TV taught me, my teacher taught me. That's going to become your world. What you put into a child's mind is what is going to be. So if you're going to push religion on your kid, for example, you're going to go to hell if you don't, and God's always watching, so no matter what, you got to do the right thing, or else you're going to go to hell, and that's evil and burning, and you're, gnashing of teeth, and all this fucking demented, crazy thoughts. That's what hell is. And you're going to go there because, it's unreasonable to do to a child's mind, fragile, frail, susceptible mind of a child. I don't know what the fuck's going on with my throat. A little mucusy. I'm not sick. I don't get sick. Because I don't take your fucking your cancer drinks and your fucking mercury-filled vaccines. I don't get sick. Anyways. If you sit down with your child, reasoned with your child, went over the pros, the cons of decision-making, of morals and ethics and your conscience and things like that, that is going to be a lot better. Even karma is kind of bad to talk about with children. Well, it's not a terrible thing compared to like religion, where you're telling them, you better be on your best behavior because, God's watching, or Santa Claus is watching, or whoever's watching behind closed doors. And you got to be careful because the devil's going to trick you, and the devil's with you always, and he owns the earth, and he's going to make you do some really bad things, but you got to stop that. That's not the right way to handle things. That's a delusion. See, there's no evidence of that whatsoever. You made a good decision or a bad decision. You had an aura, a frequency, things like that. That's something that's empirical, something that you can recreate and identify, and you can see what kind of chemicals drop in the brain and stuff like that to give you that good feeling of the Holy Spirit or that evil feeling of like murder, right? So there's clear indications that you can empirically prove. And if you're just going to have your child surrender to be on your best behavior because God or Santa Claus is watching, you're doing a disservice because you're not teaching the child ethics, morals, to follow their conscience, to explain what the right and wrong things, even though I'm 100%, I don't believe in right and wrong. I believe in good and evil. Because I can't identify what is right and wrong, because, you know, the code of ethics can swing in the balance at any time. We can all say that murder is wrong, but wait, what if self-defense? So there's variables, you know, exactly. There's a million different ways to slice it. Right and wrong is not the kind of thing that I want to talk about. Rather, good or evil. Do you have good intent or evil intent? It's your intention, okay? And if you teach your children this, and you're around your child often, and you have long-form conversations with your child, not just, oh, so how was your day today, Sonny? How was school? What'd you learn today? If that's the height of your conversation, you're a bad parent. You're a bad parent. That's similar forms to abandonment. You're not connecting with your child. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. No one, just like that flat tire that doesn't want to give up the disc, just like the alcoholic who doesn't want to give up the alcohol, no parent wants to be told they're a bad parent. That's why it's a lot easier to tell you this through the internet, where you're not going to take me by the throat, right? But I'm just telling you the truth. So, I know a lot of parents and children that don't talk. And when they do talk, it's basic shit. It's shit that doesn't matter. It's shit that has nothing to do with their heart or their mind or what they really want out of life or anything that's deeper or heavy. Rather, they want to talk about just the tip of the surface, you know, just to break the ice shit. So what are you doing these days? You got a girlfriend? You know, like, that's nothing, right? You gotta be with your children. You gotta understand your child ins and outs and direct them on the positive path. And that doesn't involve surrendering to a priest, surrendering to you, right? Just look at it like this. This was going to be a video I was going to post in the future, but I might as well just throw you a little hint right now. If you're programmed by your parents, or it doesn't matter who, let's say your parent says, respect your elders. Well, when I was young, I thought that was just the right thing to do. I didn't know any better. Respect your elders, I was told. So I respected all my elders. Right? Now, it's a good quality. There's nothing wrong with respecting your elders, but it wasn't until I was older, till I took down the walls of the matrix in the belief structure, and I had to refine the matrix and make my own subjective, empirical, objective fucking world, universe, and surrender to evidence rather than belief structure, etc. That I came to realize that I'm going to respect everyone. But I had to learn that on my own. See, I didn't understand it when I was told it. I did it, but I didn't understand it. And I wish my elders taught me why. Other than, well, they're old people. Why? Of course you got to respect them. They've been on this planet longer than you. That's it. Right? They've been on the planet longer than you. That's not an argument. Right? The older people are murderers. They're rapists. They can be bad, they can be good. Just like you. But this is why I love moral philosophy. It's my favorite type of philosophy. Other than, I guess you can say, talking about the elite and stuff like that. Which is one of my top things I like to talk about, because I like to know what they know, because obviously they run the world. I'm kind of interested. But I don't surrender to like a third party saying something, or even themselves saying something. You know, like if there's a book, and there's plenty of them, I'm like David Rockefeller or whoever, right? And just because I read it in that book doesn't mean it's true. Right? You have to dive into the philosophy, the evidence, etc. You don't just take what someone says and say that's it. So stop doing that with your priest, your pastor, your parents, your teacher, your president of the United States. Doesn't fucking matter. till you can think for yourself. Think for yourself. I think it's the Buddhist way that says, Buddha even said, don't just blindly follow what I say, unless it agrees with your mind and your heart. But we got to take that a step further. How objective it is, how true it is, how empirical it is. Right? How logically sound it is. Because I can come up here and say the flat earth things, and it might agree with a lot of the things that I agree with. Like, well, that sounds good. Same thing with your politician. But they brainwash you to think that way. Because they have a nice way to communicate effectively. You know, those same people that can sell salt to a snail. They can sell you something that you don't want. They can sell you a glass house, right? They can sell you anything. And you're going to believe it because they have a way with words. They have a way with manipulating the population or the people that listen. So don't surrender to that. Surrender to yourself. And then your IQ will start to rise. See, IQ can fluctuate despite what scientists tell you. They just don't know the formula to do so. And they don't understand the formula to take that out. For example, you're drinking beers, guzzling beers all day, of course that's damaging your brain. Right? Your ability to effectively react at a moment's notice on something. Somebody breaks a window in your house and you're drunk. What was that? Oh, it's nothing, I'm tired. That's a dumb move. But if you're sober and to your top-notch capabilities, and even after time, obviously, alcohol's making you dumber and dumber and dumber, right? We know this, right? It's damaging to your IQ, to your reaction, to everything. But imagine if you didn't drink your whole life. Look at Jordan Peterson, or like I already mentioned today, Stefan Molyneux. They don't drink. Why are they so intelligent? Imagine if they did drink. They would be dumber than me, probably. And I'm not very smart. How I look at it is I'm not smart, because I'm terrible at repeating things. But I am intellectual, because I can come to rational, valid, critical conclusions through intense, deep thoughts of variables. You know, you have an idea. Let's say it's up here. That idea is going to branch off to a million different variables. I have a very fast way of siphoning through all of the information, all the data, and come to a very fast conclusion where then now I can get to the next point. Then I can get to the next point, and then the next point. Most people can't even do that. Right? They can't even start branching off and thinking about variables. They're still stuck up here. And I'm already light years ahead of someone. That doesn't happen by chance. It's because the information that is brought into your brain is deflected. Right? Seriously. It's deflected because it didn't agree with your beliefs. So when I'm arguing with a flat-tard about the ball earth and the flat earth theory, and I'm considering their thoughts, and then I say something that is totally like destroyed everything that they were saying, like everything has to surrender to my evidence because it's more rational, valid, and it makes more sense, and then their walls come crashing down, then they get violent, and then they're talking about name calling. You're a fucking asshole. Why did you have to take down these walls? You're putting up those walls. And it's by design from the fucking programming that you have encountered your whole life. And because of this recipe, we're all lower IQ. We think that alcohol is legal, so we can just drink it. We think Coca-Cola and all these sugar drinks are okay, so we just consume it. While we are getting dumber, we're losing our health. These are results that manipulate and change IQ. And when you're dealing with a population of low IQ, they're going to be much more violent. They're going to spank their children because they don't know how to reason with their child. And they're going to become much worse parents. The best parents on the planet, higher IQ. Not necessarily. Let me rephrase that last bit. Not necessarily. There's obviously low IQ parents that love their children more than anything, right? And will do anything. But they don't make as well decisions. Because when you're higher IQ, you take them. So if my kid did this, well, I'm going to reason with my child like this. Because it could result in this if I did this. And if I spank my child's not going to trust me. And if I spank my child, then I'm teaching my child that violence is the answer. That's how you get people to obey you. And how great is it? I love it when people are riding their bike down the highway. Going cross country. Anyways, where was I? Oh, it's teaching your kids terrible decisions. And to recognize this is through higher IQ, empathy, morals, ethics, more of a deeper understanding and awareness. So it takes more consciousness. Consciousness is a variable to IQ. If you have higher consciousness, it's going to raise the bar for your IQ. And it's very simple to realize that once you get to that level, once you have the impact of your with yourself. See, I have terrible speech crap, so what comes out of my mind isn't proper, because it's tough to put the shit in words sometimes. For me, if I was Jordan Peterson, it'd be way different. If my mind was in Jordan Peterson's, if I had Jordan Peterson's way of words with my mind, I'd have 1 million subscribers tomorrow. But my speech craft sucks, so I apologize for that. Plus, I'm driving, so I'm more obviously concerned about this than the video. Anyways, this video is getting too long. I just wanted to show you that IQ plays a role in violence, and it's very obvious. I guess that I want you all to stop being so violent and increase the quality of your argument. Is that so much to ask? Stop being so belief-oriented, or listening to the news or the TV or your pastor or whatever, and agreeing with it with full faith like it's gospel. Stop doing it. Stop doing it, because it's lowering your IQ, it's making you more violent, and it's making you worse parents. Yet, I have no problem telling you you're a bad parent. It's just tough to say it to your face because I can see your reaction. I'm like, yeah, I wish I didn't do that. But the truth has to be told. You're a bad parent, you're a bad parent. And you can correct it now if you're still a parent. You can still correct it. So you can definitely right those wrongs. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, or at least enjoyed the concepts that I've put forth in this video. And I hope that you guys don't hate me. I'm not a bad parent. I'll spank my fucking kid if he does something stupid. It teaches him. No, you didn't teach him anything. You just taught him obedience. You didn't teach him why they shouldn't do those things, other than they'll still do it, just when you're not watching. Right? They'll still do those things that you don't want them to do. Oh, my kid's 12 and my kid smoked pot and I caught him. Well, now your kid's going to smoke pot outside the house when your eyes aren't on them. Right? And when they come home, they're going to have the vising their eyes, right? Right? Come on, stay with me. They're going to do the same shit. They're just going to hide it from your eyeballs. That's why you need religion, right? Or Santa Claus is always watching. Until the kid reaches the age of 8, says Santa Claus isn't real, then the age of 9, and your bearded God in the clouds wasn't real. And then what do you got? Then you're going to spank your kid? All right? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, they hit puberty. Now you can't spank your kid. Your kid's going to spank back. Is this good parenting? Negative, Ghost Rider. Stay tuned for more content. Plenty more coming. See you guys.